or more likely just gentlemen. I don't know. I can't imagine my demographic is that diverse yet. But who knows? Who knows? Could be anything. So, bottom line is, I'm going live. We're going to revisit Francis Nganou versus Curtis Blaydes 1. I'm going to give you a brief background on the fight, why it's significant, why you should care, why you should tune in this weekend at 3 o'clock a.m. Watch it live with me. And yeah, I'm just trying to get my reps in. Can't sleep. About to go to work on a night shift and just watch some fucking fights, man. That's all there is to it. I love it. I know you do too. That's why you're here. For the announcement, I'm planning on going live for Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz 3, brought to you by Golden Boy Promotions, which is weird, but kind of cool. So apparently there's a Black Friday special. You can pre-order the pay-per-view for $19.99. So for those of you tuning in, you actually care about the fight, with that nostalgic feel kind of like me, do it. Tune in. If not, I got you. As you know, I go live highlights in between rounds, fight finish. The mask is coming off. We have to get this thing started. That's right, folks. The man, the myth, the legend, Ghostface Killer. Bringing you all your MMA coverage and needs. So, off note while I'm transitioning here, it's a pretty exciting world in the music industry today. I don't know how much you guys keep up with hip hop and all that, but originally I kind of wanted this to be a split MMA and hip hop channel, as weird as that sounds. But we got a very entertaining day of Joyner Lucas, if you know who this guy is. Really talented lyrical artist. Most recently featured on Eminem's new album. The song Lucky You had a very big hit record in a diss contest with none other than Tory Lanez, famous rapper. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but I've really enjoyed the back and forth, and I've been following that all day. So let's talk about Nganou and Curtis Blaydes. So, interestingly enough, I have not seen the first fight. I remember it was on a Fight Pass, Beijing. Wow. So I guess the rematching in China too. That's very interesting. Some kind of continuity, perhaps. So the reason why I choose these particular fights, in addition to the fact that they're hyping up the fight coming up on the weekend, is UFC does this cool thing where they give you free fight. For a limited time, you can go on YouTube and for free of charge. You don't have to have a Fight Pass membership. You don't have to have anything like that. You can watch a fight that is showcasing some prominent fighters on the upcoming main card, i.e. this is the rematch between Francis Nganou versus Curtis Blaydes. This is a huge fight, man, despite the fact that it's not getting much coverage or publicity, which I think is a little bit of a misconception. If any of you know much about MMA or are really familiar with ONE FC, that is a huge organization. It's like the equivalent of the UFC in Japan. Or sorry, not Japan, China. My bad. The Chinese market for MMA is massive. It's kind of ironic because they always talked about Mexico being the next Brazil. Brazilian market is really huge for MMA. It's kind of the origins where a lot of the sport started with the Vale Tudo. And a lot of famous Brazilian fighters over the years, particularly in Pride, made their mark. Mexico just hasn't panned out quite yet. It's still kind of on the table in the cards. Brazil, the market down there is just not what it used to be. But China, interestingly enough, the market is booming. It's absolutely insane. So the fact that this is taking place in China at a very obscure hour for American fans to tune in live, I can understand the confusion and why that would be a misperception. But the reality of it is the market is huge, and the chance for exposure globally is massive for these guys. So I don't think this is a slight. I think this is a big opportunity for both men. Both men need a win here. So just a brief recap, and then we'll get right into the fight, because I know that's what you guys want to do. Just to give you a brief background on both the guys. So Francis Nganou is this dude from Cameroon, this African specimen of a human being. He's just a freak athlete, jacked to all hell, and supposedly grew up shoveling sand or doing crazy shit like that. Moved to France, wanted to be a boxer, somehow heard about MMA, got involved in MMA, and just started knocking fools out in the first round. He had this meteoric rise. He was actually favored to beat who is technically on paper the greatest heavyweight UFC champion of all time as far as defenses go, and kind of got shut down in the ground game, really got exposed. So he's all hands, right? Vicious power, decent technique, but really exposed for being lacking in the ground game. Ironically enough, on his rise up, he beat this young cat named Curtis Blaydes, who is I think he's a JUCO wrestler. I could be wrong about that. I know he's got a wrestling background of some prominence, perhaps NCAA, but I think it's JUCO. And the guy's an absolute stud. He's a beast wrestler. So going into this fight, spoiler alert, he loses. I don't even know the end result, so this will be interesting to see. But he took an L to Francis on the come up, but since then has just been on fire and just been murking fools. And Francis has been kind of the opposite, kind of on the decline. No confidence in his ground game. The guy's a bad stylistic matchup for him. So this rematch is very relevant to the heavyweight division picture, and it's going to be pretty interesting. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing started. So they start off with a fight announcements. We've got the tail of the tape popping up right now. As you can hear Bruce Buffer in the background, let me go ahead and dial this down. But we're just going to break down, see what we see in technique. I think the smart money predictions going into this rematch is probably on Curtis Blaydes, just based on momentum and the fact that he is a bad stylistic matchup for Francis. But it's interesting because Francis did beat him. I want to see what's going to be relevant coming up in this fight. Curtis Blaydes probably the more evolved fighter at this point. His striking looked good. He just beat Mark Hunt, my favorite heavyweight, UFC heavyweight of all time. Vicious K1 striker. Fighting out of Chicago, Illinois. Interesting. Curtis Blaydes, 6'4". And then we got Francis Nganou. 6'4" as well, 6'1" at this point, 252 pounds, fighting out of Paris, France. He was an underdog in this fight. Fascinating. Yeah, this dude has nasty power. He is a freaking killer. If you have not seen him fight before, you have not seen highlights, I highly encourage you to take a look at that. So anyways, we got some referee I've never heard of reffing this fight. That's Nganou right there. About to face off Curtis Blaydes. Obviously, we got your gloves, and it's on if you want to sync up and watch along. So we got Curtis Blaydes with a vicious whipping back leg kick. This is the dominant leg. Lands on Francis Nganou. I've often wondered if heavyweights would utilize that leg kick a little bit more on Francis, how much that would be effective. Alistair Overeem didn't really get the chance to because his head got knocked to Jupiter with the most wicked uppercut of all time. If y'all have missed that, it's pretty gnarly. So Curtis Blaydes pretty early getting Francis up against the cage, fighting for double underhooks. He's got underhook on the left side. Francis doing a good job, actually, reversing the position. Now he's got Curtis Blaydes' back against the fence. So he's not completely incompetent when it comes to the grappling. Stipe really exposed him just with the takedowns. He was just doing some kind of like, I don't know, lame, uncreative double leg shoots, driving in one direction, not really like switching up or like chain wrestling, but it got the job done, man. It was effective. And the real exposure came when you just kind of saw Francis doesn't really know what to do off his back. It was pretty evident that he didn't really prepare for a plan B. And words behind the scene are that he didn't at all. Coming from his camp and what people monitored, doing a lot of training at the UFC Performance Institute in Las Vegas, Nevada, obviously is tied to the offices of, Dana White and all these other guys. And just word on the street was he was in a little bit over his head. Maybe ego got to him. At least that's the prevailing rumor. I don't know how much truth there is to that. So both men exchanging early and looking pretty even. I'm really impressed with Curtis Blaydes' jab, even at this early stage in his career. He's got some pretty sound fundamentals boxing, as far as I can tell. The right hand is always real close to the chin, firing a good jab. He just ate a vicious left straight to the jaw. Seems to have recovered well. I like the way he covers up, gets both hands up on the forehead, elbows up high, protecting that chin. His chin is tucked really well. He's got the man beard. That always helps, making the chin a little more of a evasive target to hit. Oh, he just got cracked with the left hand and dropped. He's shooting for a double leg. Francis with a pretty decent sprawl. And once again, Francis has an underhook on that left side, and he turns Curtis Blaydes back onto the fence. I'll give you guys an idea of what we're looking at here. Looks like he's going to work on Curtis Blaydes' leg. I wish I would have said the age at the beginning of this fight, because it is worthy to note that Francis Nganou is pretty up there in age, and Curtis Blaydes, being a very young cat at this time, still is actually. I don't know what his age is, but I believe he's in his early 20s, like less than 25. All right, we're back in the center of the cage. Curtis Blaydes just throwing like single shots now. I think he kind of lost confidence after he got dropped there. Yeah, he's faking the jab. He just shot a double and he got it. But Francis doing a good job posting up one hand, getting his back against the cage. He's doing the right thing. You're supposed to fish under with that left hand, grab the hamstring, and that allows you to kind of get some weight up and turn your hip over and kind of stand back up to your feet. But Curtis Blaydes is not having it. He's wall walking now. Curtis Blaydes hooks the leg, gets the trip, puts him right back down on his butt. He's forcing that head down. Curtis Blaydes doing a good job fatiguing. The other big criticism on Francis in that Stipe fight was his cardio. Really did not look good after that first round. Kind of gassed out. Looked like he just kind of blew his wad looking for that knockout. That's very exerting for people who haven't done much boxing, or really any kind of striking with your upper body. It's very different from running. So you obviously use your legs every day. You're walking on them. So to an extent, running cardio comes more natural, feels more natural. But here we got some highlights in the middle of the round. But when you're using your upper body, it's just not conditioned for a lot of volume and a lot of movement. There's that, I guess it was a right hand Francis hit him with on the temple that took him down. And then see, once again, like I said, he got the underhook, defended the takedown well. So he's got some confidence. Obviously, he's been training. But if you do any upper body workout, I would highly encourage you sometimes just hit a bag. Set a timer on your phone. Every phone's got a timer now. For like 3 minutes, and just nonstop hit a bag and see how quickly you get tired. It's a completely different kind of cardio. Particularly when you're whaling haymakers. That's another good one. Just whale hooks, just nonstop, as hard as you can on the bag, and see how quickly you will gas out in like 30 seconds. Like you can sprint for about 45 seconds, I think they say, to like a minute at like the max, before you need a breather. But when you're throwing punches, man, especially if you're not used to it, conditioned for it, that's why boxers, I mean, like half their training camp is just conditioning, hitting mitts, hitting the bag. You just got to get used to those punches because your upper body is just not conditioned for that naturally. It's something that you really got to prepare for. Curtis Blaydes eating a lot of shots here. He is looking very busted up. He's kind of leaking around the eyes. Let's see if we can get it. To me, he just seems very young and inexperienced in this fight. But I'm impressed with his composure. I do think the second fight is going to go very different, especially watching this first one now and having seen the consecutive performances from both men. It just looks like a different fight. Yeah, Curtis Blaydes is lunging in with a right hand, gets caught with a counter left hook, gets dropped again. I mean, he looks like a guy who looks kind of out of his elements right now. Whereas the current Curtis Blaydes looks like a much more confident, prepared athlete in the cage. So Curtis Blaydes with another great takedown. Francis Nganou almost reversing position. Damn, I wish I would have caught that. Sorry, guys. But here, even here, look at this. Look at this. So the first thing Francis Nganou should be doing, there he goes. You need to hit towards your opponent's hip. He was just kind of laying on his back there, not doing anything with his legs. Like you really you want to close that gap between your opponent's leg and yours when you're in side control. And what I mean by that is you need to scoot over. You always want your hip right up against the opponent. You don't want any space because that gives them the opportunity to slide that knee in and get side control, get mount. Space is not good. You want hip to hip as close as you can. It also affords you the ability to wrap your leg around them, regain half guard, and then from there go to full guard or sweep and go to the feet, which Francis ended up doing. He got a whizzer, which is where you hook over their arm and you kind of hip out and you step up like this. So he did a good job escaping. It's just kind of basics. You know what I mean? It looks like he's more getting away with it just from sheer athleticism than like really refined technique. Curtis Blaydes, once again, looking a little fatigued, a little insecure in his stand-up abilities. He's just eating a lot of shots coming in on Francis Nganou. You look at Francis's head movement, too. Far superior to Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes kind of walking forward, doing these very predictable, plotting movements, just always leading with that same jab, not really following it up with anything, making it really easy for Francis to figure out what he's going to do and counter it effectively. And Francis keeping his head movement, kind of feinting some shots, making it really hard for Curtis to know what he's going to throw next. And thus he is landing a lot more often. And you can see it. Well, I don't know if you can see this high resolution. The quality's kind of bad when I'm looking right off the TV. But if you're watching this fight along with me or you watch it later, you can see it. Curtis Blaydes' face is just all kinds of busted up. And Francis has huge hands, man. There we go. Shoots for a takedown, doesn't get it. Curtis looks like he's gassing out a little bit too. A lot of that can be attributed to inexperience. It's really kind of hard to regulate. His right eye is completely swollen shut, and he's still just throwing that predictable jab. Francis just slipping, throwing a hook over the other side, really busting him up bad. I can't imagine Curtis can see anything outside of like 25% out of that right eye right now. That is looking really bad. Okay, so the round just ended. Some highlights here. Tell you what we think going into this next round. Yeah, Curtis looking really tired in this one. I'm not sure what his camp was, how well conditioned, but look at that. Look at that. Oh, sorry, my left eye, not right eye. No, that is his right eye. My bad. On the left side. Oh, looks like they're going to stop the fight. Looks like the doctor's telling him you can't see out that eye. Yeah. They're asking him. Interesting. They called it. No, I guess they haven't called it yet, but they're checking his eye. That's it. Doctor says no. Yeah, Curtis Blaydes. Right eye completely swollen shut. Looks like they're going to call the fight. He's pleading with the doctor now, but man, that's a rough position to be in. It's completely swollen shut. I appreciate that guy's heart, though. He wants to continue. They just called it off. Looking very disappointed. Damn, got to feel for the guy, but at the same time, safety first. Francis Nganou is not a guy you want to be in the ring with while you're half blind. You can't see that right hand coming. You got to take some brain damage, my son. But you know what? I'm really impressed, man. I had no idea that fight was that close. Curtis Blaydes is hanging in there. I'm not going to say that he was winning. I felt like he maybe stole the first round, maybe, but definitely wasn't getting away with that second round, and things were not turning well into his favor. Man, he's looking really bummed out. Yeah, it was a lot closer than I thought, especially on Francis's behalf. I don't know. Maybe my perception is just distorted because of the recent Stipe loss, and then the subsequent. If you guys haven't seen him versus Derek Lewis, man, that was one of the most boring fights of all time. I would not recommend it, but in case you missed it, it was basically a staring contest for 15 minutes straight. Yeah, Curtis Blaydes looking really upset. Eye completely swollen shut. Francis Nganou fighting really hard in that one. And our official decision. Fascinating. Francis Nganou with the win. So he beat Curtis Blaydes here, and then I'm not sure what the timeline is. I know he was all wins, like all first round, second round, TKOs, knockouts. I mean, he was straight knocking dudes out. And I don't know if it was right after this, but it was a short time after he got the Alistair Overeem fight. Big step up in competition. Alistair Overeem, one of the only guys to successfully cross over from MMA into another elite level combat sport in kickboxing, K1. I mean, that's as elite as it gets, and actually win a championship. He won the K1 2000. Oh man, I was speaking way out of turn. I think it was the 2012 tournament is the one he won. It was either that or 2009. I know he competed in both, but I think 2009 is the one he took the L to Badr Hari. Or maybe I'm getting that mixed up. I don't know, but I know he won one of them. I should be brushed up on that. I apologize, guys. But in any case, irrelevant. Alistair Overeem, badass kickboxer, is the bottom line. Fought Francis Nganou, and Nganou starched him with possibly the KO of the year, maybe like KO of the decade. Like he hit him with this wicked uppercut that looked like it would have decapitated him, literally. He just and shut his lights out. Like it was scary as hell. And that's how he got the title shot. And he was looking so vicious. He was so hyped. He was the favorite in that fight, and he went in there and he put on a valiant effort that first round, but Stipe was not having it, man. He was not playing his game. He utilized good head movement, tricky boxing too. Kudos to Stipe. Really utilized that takedown and just kind of wore him out for 5 rounds and just got takedown after takedown. And then they set up an awesome matchup on paper. Him versus Derek Lewis, another knockout artist. They've been having a back and forth for a while now too. And when they got down and dirty, it was it was completely ugly. Neither guy really wanted to commit. I think Derek Lewis may have been coming off a loss too. At that time, they were both kind of on thin ice, and neither one of them really committed. But Derek Lewis ended up stealing a decision, and yeah, that's where Francis is at. Meanwhile, Curtis Blaydes, just on fire, actually beat Alistair Overeem too, the same common opponent. Just outclassed him, looked great, fought an elite level K1 kickboxing champion and Alistair Overeem, and then consecutively fought Mark Hunt. Maybe it was prior to that, and just starched him. It was crazy. Just shut him out. Was really smart with his takedowns. That's the thing about Curtis Blaydes. You can't count out, man. The guy, he's smart. He knows where his strengths are and where his weaknesses are. And I respect a guy that can analyze that and say, hey, I'm going to do me. I'm going to get the W. And that's what he did. Ended up pulling out a pretty impressive win. So this rematch is going to be very interesting. Once again, I'm actually more excited about Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell too. You know what? If I had time, which I don't, maybe I'll do this tomorrow, but I want to try to get a Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. We'll watch both their first fights because I do have a Fight Pass membership and get a reaction to that and kind of build up some hype for this one because this is one I don't know. Initially when they announced it, I was like, man, I don't care. But the more I'm seeing promos for it, the more I'm kind of getting into it. It's just nostalgic, man. Like it feels good to see a throwback to better times of MMA. I got into MMA in like 2004, which is when Tito and Chuck first fought. So it's a fun one for me. I'll be excited to put it up. Hope you guys are too. That's going to be it for this round. Sorry, it's a short one. Like I said, I'm just trying to get my reps in. Obviously, the live shows are the main things you tune into when the pay-per-views are going. I can give you highlights. Tune in. Don't lose faith in me. Love you guys. I'm out. See you next time. See you this weekend. Love you.